Welcome back to the Making a Multi-Million-Dollar Med Spa podcast, where we have real conversations about what it takes to run a successful business. Thank you for joining us as we share our day-to-day successes and, even more importantly, failures and mistakes. Listen in as we host some of our peers, colleagues, and other experts in the field. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, all my med spa friends out there. Welcome back to the Making a Multi-Million-Dollar Med Spa podcast. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share a couple of updates on what Mint has been up to lately. We've been hard at work to bring you amazing content to boost your business. We've updated our Moxie e-course and added new episodes of Mint Minute and Aesthetic Care 411. The Moxie course has gone through a major upgrade with enhanced resources to help you develop your treatment techniques to perfection. The Mint Minute and Aesthetic Care 411 are focused on sharing our most valued tips, tricks, and processes. We hope you love this new content and find lots of good information to help you grow in your practice. We have a lot of new stuff coming soon, so stay tuned for more. Now let's get into the episode. All right, and we're back, and I'm so excited to be doing another episode with the one and only Matt Taranto.
She's nervous because we just met, and so it's a little awkward, but we'll be fine.
You think you're going to be able to get through it?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm really excited about today's topic because I feel like, we're constantly asked about, great marketing tools. What marketing do we do? What's successful? And really looking at some things that aren't so expensive, because when we look at website, it's really typical to spend $60,000 to $100,000 on a website. And then, there's, Google ads and all of those things. There's just a lot of money to spend. What are some things that we can do to grow our business that don't cost a lot of money? So today I really want the focus to be on business to business marketing.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So my first question to you, because, I think there's a lot of different personalities of owners in clinics or managers in clinics. And so, I think there is something about that also determines whether or not those relationships are built. So maybe I'm putting myself ahead of what I'm about to say, but basically is like, how do you find these businesses that we connect with aesthetic care to do this business to business marketing?
Yeah, to backtrack a little bit. So years ago, we've been in business for 22 years now, and obviously we've made a lot of stupid mistakes that we've learned from, did a lot of good things. But I never really thought of this before I got into this industry. And then when I opened aesthetic care 22 years ago, I just didn't have the resources to go out and spend a bunch of money on radio or TV or billboards and things. And in this little location we were at, there was a big grocery store complex very close to us. So I literally, in 2001, made flyers, and I would personally walk through the parking lot and put flyers in the windshields. I hired, one of my good friends had two boys in high school, and I hired them, and I printed off door hangers. I don't know if this is even legal anymore. And they would go into neighborhoods, and literally I would pay them an hourly wage to hang door hangers. And it was really kind of odd marketing, right? For somebody who didn't have any money, it's what I could do. But, it turned out that it worked okay. We would get people bringing in these flyers or people calling saying, hey, I got a door hanger. And it really made me think that there's a big difference between passive and proactive marketing. Passive meaning you throw a billboard up, I'm going to hope somebody sees it and then hope somebody calls from that. And proactive means I'm going to walk out the door and I'm going to go find it myself. And so it taught me that, hey, maybe there's different avenues that aren't so expensive that could be very effective. Well, then we grew a little bit and had some success, and I backed away from that. And I tried all the normal ways. I tried radio, I tried TV, I tried billboards. We used to run 4 full-page ads in magazines, the kind of the high-end magazines that you see in doctors' offices and restaurants and stuff. And, at one point I was paying almost $8,000 a month on magazine ads. And I'm not saying it was terrible. It wasn't great. I think we got enough money to justify it, but it wasn't like, wow, this is going great. And I remember one day sitting down and I was signing a check and we'd run a billboard and it was almost $6,000 a month. And I looked at that and I said to myself, man, that's a really good employee. I mean, back then it was more than one employee. And I thought, what if I hired somebody who would be my eyes and ears in Kansas City, who would go out and establish relationships with small to mid-sized companies, charities, women's groups, looking for events to be part of, would I get more bang for my buck from that person than I would from paying almost $6,000 for a billboard? Well, now in hindsight, it was dumb. Of course, having a dedicated person to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And if I could go back 22 years, and even then, I probably wouldn't have had the resources to hire a full-time person, right? But I could have hired somebody 1 or 2 days a week
Right.
to branch out from my physical location, and they're not selling anything. It's just PR. It's relationship building.
Well, I got to kind of remind you that you still do this job a little bit today, even.
Oh, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit. I like it though.
Yeah, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I know you do, but that's kind of where I was going with the personality piece,
Mm-hmm.
that you are such an outgoing person and you're always connecting with people. And so part of that comes naturally to you. But whether it was back then or finding this full-time person, which obviously has made such a huge impact on our business, but you're still pretty involved in that. I mean, you still love to, if you love a business, we're connecting with them in Aesthetic Care somehow.
Well, and I think to me, it does make sense. And I understand what you're saying because, we talk about, the right personality for the right job, whether that's the front desk or a provider or a manager or whatever. What I tell people that I consult with is say, hey, listen, you may not have the time to do this as the owner of a clinic, especially if it's fairly new and you're just have a bunch of hats. And I say, find somebody who can talk to a wall, right? And they're not selling anything. I mean, Lori Morrissey is who does this for our clinic. And she's just this outgoing, gregarious person. Her background was in advertising sales. She had to knock on a lot of doors. But she would tell you this is not anything that's difficult. You're not asking anybody to spend a penny. You're basically letting people know, one, our business exists. You probably don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I want you to come see it. I'm going to give you a tour. I'm going to show you everything, maybe do some treatments. And then if you like our business and we feel, hey, there's some good synergy, then we sit down and establish some fun little marketing programs with them, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
Right, right. So, okay, so let's take one step back again. So,
Okay.
number one, how do you choose the businesses that we do this with? What are you looking
Well,
for?
I used to only think about ones that were just so obvious, ones that had similar clientele, that were retail businesses, because we are a retail business. But now I've really broadened my scope because I think the easy ones are a clothing boutique,
Mm-hmm.
a jewelry store, an auto dealership. And
Why an auto dealership?
Well, I'll tell you one, just to back up even from that.
I mean, I know
locally-
we've done this, but
yeah,
I guess I wouldn't
no.
see that as the obvious
Locally
one.
owned companies are easier than national because a lot of times national ones have regulations and things they can and cannot do. The first one that really I remember looking at saying, man, this is so easy was a friend of ours, Lisa Renee, who owns a clothing boutique, a really nice high-end one that you love and a lot of people love their clothes. And so years ago, went in and met her. And the problem that I think people have with this, and I remember one clinic from Atlanta I was consulting with, and I kind of walked them through, and I don't think I did a good job of explaining it, because about a year later I was talking to them again, and they said, oh, that gift card thing that you told us to do with businesses, it didn't work. I told one of my staff to take $100 gift cards, go find 10 businesses, gives each of them 10, and ask them to pass these out. And we only got like 2 back. And I said, well, you forgot about the relationship building part, because why would a business refer people to you if they don't even know you, don't even know what you do? So what we did with Lisa Renee, which kind of became a blueprint, is first of all, we went and met her. She's a wonderful person. And now we both know we're great friends with her after many, many years. And we said, listen, we believe we have similar clientele. I would like to invite you to Aesthetic Care. I want to give you a tour. And then we're going to scan your skin with this cool device called the Visia. And then we're just going to do a couple of free treatments on you. We want you to understand what we do for a living. And keep in mind, we have a big advantage. This type of marketing would not work if you owned an insurance agency, right?
Yeah, people always want to come in.
Yeah, it wouldn't work if you owned a commercial repair agency. But we have a product or many different services and products that most people are intrigued, especially women, but some men. So she came in. She turns out to be one of the nicest people in the world. Did a scan. We ended up doing a BBL and a microlaser peel and a profractional on her. This is way back in the day before Halo and Moxie. And she really enjoyed it. And then we decided, hey, let's do something together. And here's what we started with. We said, we're going to take a sample month, and I think it was December. And if somebody spends over $300 at her boutique, she gives them a $100 gift card to Aesthetic Care. Now, if they spent over $500, she gave them a $200 gift card to Aesthetic
Just a
Care.
huge gift with purchase.
And what it did, because I get a lot of people say, well, why would she do that? Well, why wouldn't she do it? Okay, one, it's not costing her a dime because we give those promotional gift cards to her. Two, she's able to do something nice for a good client. And that client now has a reason, some bait to come see us,
For
which is
sure.
way more powerful than a business card.
Oh, well, think of, I mean, back in my college years when I was working at the makeup counters and we did gift with purchases all the time. It was
Mm-hmm.
like the biggest boost to business.
Mm-hmm.
And people love a gift with purchase. And this is one actually, I mean, $100 value is significant. And 200, I mean,
Is
you
big.
know, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and we used to, I mean, a few times we tried 50s, they didn't work very well. So we really focus on 100 or 200. But going back to what you said about car dealership, you wouldn't think that, right? And this credit to Lori because she knew the owners of the Infiniti dealership in Kansas City. And we set up a nice plan that anybody who bought a new Infiniti about a week later would get a box in the mail. It was an Infiniti box that they sent out. There was a letter in there from the owners that said, hey, thank you so much for your business, blah, blah, blah. As a token of our appreciation, here's a $200 gift card to our friends at Aesthetic Care. Go do something nice for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody who buys an Infiniti, fairly expensive car, probably might be a good candidate for what we do. Local jewelers, or maybe even a little bigger, but, it depends on who the manager is. Steve Burstein, fine jeweler here in Kansas City, great friend of ours now.
Fitness centers, we've done with a lot of those.
You spend over $1,000 as jewelry, a lot of times now he will give a complimentary Viscia and hydrofacial. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes that treatment may be more powerful because if somebody doesn't know what we do and they see $200 off of what treatment,
right,
versus, oh, this is $189 really cool hydrofacial, mm-hmm. and I don't get charged for it. Mm-hmm. But real estate agents are great. So, real estate agents, they sell a house, they normally give a gift. In fact, we just had a meeting with Lori and Karen, and instead of just giving a certificate, we're now going to have them give them one of our Aesthetic Care candles with the hydrofacial certificate, the Viscia. And the thing that I tell people all the time, what you're getting out of this, that's the most important, is the consultation, right? Because if somebody comes in, they have a gift card or a hydrofacial and it's complimentary, and they come in, have the treatment, leave, maybe that's good, maybe that's not, maybe they don't really truly know who you are. But if you do that, especially the way we do our 9-step 1-hour consultation, now you have one more person for us in Kansas City that truly knows who we are. Mm-hmm. And when you do a consult, I always tell people you're doing it to that person and every person they know. And as much success as we've had, and I tell this, I'm not saying to brag at all, but we're by far the largest aesthetic center in this area. I promise you 90% of Kansas City has no idea we exist. And this is kind of what drives me, is I drive down the road and I see these businesses. I'm like, oh, I bet you we could do something with them. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about what you did with an interior designer. Remember Mary? Mm-hmm. I can't remember her last name, but and she started using these as a thank you to her interior design people. We've done this with restaurants. We had a wonderful event quite a while ago at a high-end steakhouse. It was during Skin Cancer Awareness Month. We approached the manager, said, we'd like to host a happy hour. And what we'll do is we'll come in, we'll set up a booth. Everybody who attends this happy hour is going to get a $100 gift card. We're going to give samples of Elta MD sunscreen because it was Skin Cancer Awareness Month. They did a drink special. So they sent an email out to all their email addresses in their database saying, hey, we're going to have this wonderful happy hour sponsored by Aesthetic Care. Attend, you get a $100 gift card, samples of sunscreen. We had like 75 people show up for that, for a little 2-hour happy hour, that we were able to talk to people face to face, which is way more powerful than anything you'll ever do in print.
Yeah, it always makes me think about how so often we hear from other clinics like, oh, I've got so many clinics in my area and we're feeling oversaturated. And then I go to this type of conversation where it's like, don't worry about that. There's just so much business out there, just high-level customer service and getting your name out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just kind of took me back to that.
Think about this. In a 15-mile radius of our clinic, there's about 50 to 55 clinics that do what we do to some extent. Okay. And virtually none of them are doing this. Okay. And most won't. One, it takes a lot of effort, it takes time, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't take much money. I'm so excited about this new opportunity. We just moved into this beautiful new larger facility to a new part of the city. And our neighbor literally right across the street is this massive engineering firm that has 3,400 high-paid employees.
So is this going from the obvious to the not so obvious?
Not so obvious. Who would think of an engineering firm, right?
Yeah, no,
But we're neighbors now.
Right.
So I've contacted the head of HR there. She's very nice. Next week, she's coming over. I'm giving her a tour. We're going to scan her skin. I'm going to schedule her for 2 different appointments. She's very excited. And she's very excited. I said, we're going to then figure out a way to make sure your 3,400 employees know they have a new neighbor and what we do. And she loved the idea.
So what did you say when you picked up the phone? Did you have some sort of like warm intro to her, or did you just say, I'm going to call this company?
Well, this one was easy because I literally said, her name is Regina, but I said, you don't know me, but I'm your new neighbor. Because we're right across the street. And I said, we bought this building. I don't know if you've noticed, we've been doing construction. We built out. We just moved in. And I want you to know who we are and what we do. And,
For listening to the Making a Multi-Million-Dollar Med Spa podcast. We are honored to have the opportunity to support your practice. If you like this podcast, we would love it if you left a review. Ratings and reviews allow more practices and industry professionals to find us. If this episode has inspired you, share it with a friend. Together, we can empower our community through continuous learning. We truly value your support of the podcast.
Listen, it's not going to work every time. I've walked into a business. I remember one was this very high-end aquarium shop. And I mean, it was crazy. There's a big store that sold big, expensive fish aquariums. And my thought was, this is a number of years ago, is let's get one of their aquariums in our waiting room because, we have 100 people a day and they can advertise, hey, this aquarium. Well, the guy didn't like that idea at all. And then I said, well, I would love to, maybe do some cross-marketing with you. And he literally just looked at me and goes, I'm not interested, and walked away.
Did you cry that night?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah. But I think I'm glad you shared that because like sometimes it doesn't work and
No,
that's okay.
And it's not even, you're not going to win all the time and you're not going to win 90% of the time. But think about this. So the other day, this was just a few weeks ago, at our North location, we've hired a part-time external marketing person, and I went with her to this little downtown square in Liberty, Missouri that has all these little stores. We spent 3 hours. We went to 11 stores. Every single one of them was interested. Every single one. And these were clothing boutiques. One was an ice cream shop. These are all locally owned small businesses that are trying to grow just like we are.
Okay, so you come from a sales background, right? So a lot of our listeners do not. So I just would say like, okay, you walked into all this 11 stores, and did you use a similar technique with the phone call you made? Like, hey, I'm your new neighbor?
Well, no.
Or what did you say to even get the owner? Or what did you say to the owner? How did those go?
Again, take advantage of the fact that we have a business that has some intrigue to it. So we walk in and I would just say, hey, my name is Matt Taranto. I don't know if you've known, but in Liberty, and we were 2 or 3 miles away, we recently moved to Liberty, and we have a wonderful full-service med spa that does injections like Botox and fillers and laser hair removal and crystal sculpting. We do all these fun things, but we really do really well doing business-to-business marketing and helping each other. And I said, is your manager or owner available? It happened to be, these are small businesses, so the owner usually works there. And, we had our brochure, some information and stuff, and we just chit-chatted. Some of them wanted to chit-chat a lot. And they seemed so excited that we were reaching out to them and that we maybe have some ideas to help their business and them help ours. And it's that two-way street. I remember when Orange Theory was brand new, and there was an Orange Theory not far from our clinic. And we went in there and we set up a deal where Orange Theory, when they signed up a new client, would give them a gift card to Aesthetic Care. But when we had a good client, we would give them a 1-week membership to this new place called Orange Theory. It's been around for a while now. So, you can make it work both ways. At Elisa Renee, that clothing boutique, at events we have, she'll come and she'll display some of her clothing and do almost like a mini trunk show. And there's so many ways. I mean, one of the things that was neat, one of my estheticians years ago, her dad owned, I think it was like a State Farm or a farmer's insurance agency. And when he would sign on a new insurance client that he believed might be a good candidate for what his daughter did as an esthetician, he would give that client a certificate for a hydrofacial at Aesthetic Care. So now here's a new person coming in that we didn't have to lift a finger for, right? And now that has come in. Now, one other thing that a lot of people say, yeah, but you're giving a discount or doing a free treatment, you're going to lose money. Never think about one treatment. I think about the lifetime value of an aesthetic client. And you are going to have some people come in and they'll see you one time and you'll never see them again.
Hmm.
It's fine. It happens. It's a cost of marketing. But then you're going to have this person who comes in and in 1 year spends $5,000 with you.
Hmm. I
So
mean,
it's
what are
just a
our
numbers game.
like the top 10 clients at Aesthetic Care? What's kind of an average of what they spend?
Well, we look at that pretty closely. The last time I looked last year, our best client spent 32,000. Our 100th best, not 10th best, our 100th best spent 8,900 in a year.
I mean, so then if, which is amazing, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
so $100, $200
And remember, you're not
is,
giving them $100 cash or $200
hmm
cash. You're giving them a discount off of a treatment. Now, there are some caveats on this card that I think are important. It's only good for a service. It is not good for products.
hmm
One-time use. And the reason that's on there is sometimes we sponsor events. We did have a weird situation once. We sponsored a women's member golf tournament at a country club here in town. And there was 100 women, and they all had swag bags. And in that swag bag was a $100 gift card to Aesthetic Care. Well, one woman, we found out later, was going up to other women saying, hey, are you going to use yours? You're going to use yours. You're going to use yours. And she found 9 women who were not. And she came in. She had a treatment. And she walks up to the counter and she said, I have $900. It said right on the card, 1 per client. And my God, she threw a fit. And she met with me after. She was so upset. And she said, that's false advertising. I'm like, how? It says literally right on this card, 1 per client. So, we all know there's some difficult people and nothing's going to be perfect. But I will tell you that the majority of time it works.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a great story about another way we do events, and that's by helping people who are passionate about a charity raise money for their events. So we have a group in town, in all major cities have a organization or a chapter of Women Who Mean Business. And you have to be an owner of a female owner or upper level management to be a member of this group. And they really support women-owned businesses, things like that. But they also raise money for charity. And one of the board members is a client of ours, and we had donated a couple to some auction stuff. But I was thinking, I said, hey, listen, why don't you do this? Why don't we have an evening where you invite all these women who are in your organization to Aesthetic Care? And everybody will get a $100 gift card. We'll have wine, we'll have hors d'oeuvres, we'll have a fun presentation, great door prize. But for every attendee, I will donate $100 to their charity. At that time was Go Red for Women. 71 showed up. So I had to write a tax deductible check for $7,100 to a very good cause. Do you know one woman, just one, the next day spent almost that exact amount on herself? 1 out of the 71.
Isn't that
And
cool?
so
Yeah.
it may sound like, oh my gosh, I'm giving this stuff away, but it's all, or you're planting all these seeds and you're doing things that the majority of competitors are not doing.
Right, right. Well, so I love you just kind of take us back to the business to business marketing. I think we covered so much of it already. I think a lot of the questions I get come from like the fear of not knowing how to even get started, and when you talk about it like that, it really can be so simple. Like, hey, I'm your neighbor. Or, oh, by the way, we're a full service med spa right in your area and we want to do some business together and help each other out. And I think, you'd mentioned the real estate agents and Elisa Renee, and I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying about making sure they understand who we are first, because as a real estate agent, they have so much one-on-one time with their clients.
Especially a lot of them are new to the area.
Right. And they're going to say, oh, hey, have you had the treatment?
Yep.
Have you been there? And if the answer is no, I mean, I don't know how impressed they're really going to be with that. So I do think that having that relationship, that they are our current clients. And I know, one of them will come to our events and she'll be out promoting us and we won't even ask her.
Oh, I know.
Do you know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
I know exactly.
And so I just go up and give her a big
Mhm.
hug because she's just like, it's so great and I'm just so appreciative. But she just does it on her
Yeah.
own because that relationship has become so strong. And one more comment about that is, with the Elisa Renee piece, one of the things I love that we also did with her was we gave her team a discount at
Correct.
Aesthetic Care, and she gave our team a discount
on
at
clothing.
Elisa Renee. And I think in that environment, it's nice when the entire, like if they're doing a gift with purchase at Elisa Renee, that if Elisa's not there, the rest of the team also knows us.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think you're exactly right. And listen, when you think about this job, about going out, and some people, it's just they're not cut out for something like this. They might be a little shy, but keep in mind, you're not asking for a penny. All you're doing is developing a really, hey, this is who we are as a business. I'd love for you to learn about us. But what you said is so true about before you jump right in and try to develop some program, get them to have a treatment, get them to
Mm-hmm.
see. I'm much more apt to refer somebody to a company I know in my heart is good and treats people
Oh,
well. And
100%.
that is so, it's a little bit of a process. It's the introduction, it's the owner manager coming in for a tour, for a Vicia, for a treatment, and then it's brainstorming on some fun ways to work together. On our big annual party in September, we have all these vendors come up, and a lot of those vendors we do this with,
Mm-hmm.
and they sell things at our party. But I mean, you'll be surprised at the number of businesses when you start thinking this way that you see that you'll go, oh, that might be somebody we could work with.
Great fit. Mm-hmm.
Cosmetology, hairstylists, like you said, gyms, especially smaller local gyms and things like that. The real estate agents are wonderful. In fact, we've hosted a few real estate meetings where a lot of these companies, the realtors get together once a week and they have a meeting. We've hosted those here on site. But you've got examples like not far from here is a very high-end apartment complex. And Lori and I went over a number of years ago and met the manager of this complex. All these complexes have like a clubhouse
Mm-hmm.
that the tenants can rent out. And we said, we'd love to have an aesthetic night here. We'll come, we're going to give a presentation, $100 gift card to everybody who attends. We're going to bring food, wine, and beer. They had 41 people show up. I gave a presentation, a PowerPoint. In the next 2 days, we booked 20, either 21 or 22, I can't remember, consults off of that. And that cost us a total about $500 worth of food and drink and 2.5 hours of our time.
Yeah.
And do you know how much
So
revenue we're going to
amazing.
generate off 21 consults? So it's just an inexpensive but incredibly effective way. And again, if you're listening to this and you own a clinic or you work in a clinic and you're like, oh, I would be so uncomfortable doing that. Think about maybe a current client of yours, a current patient of yours who loves what you do. And think about maybe it's a stay-at-home mom that would love to work a day and a half a week, a little part-time
Mm-hmm.
job. Pay them 20, $25 an hour plus free treatments and have them kind of become a part of your marketing team that's always on the lookout for things in your community that you can get involved with. It could be a bridal fair, it could be a health fair, it could be some charity work, which we've gotten really involved with. But then all those little businesses in your community that you can help them grow their business just by creating that relationship.
Right. And calling all Mint eCourse subscribers. Our team has updated some courses to bring you new insight into the world of aesthetics. One of our favorites, Aesthetic Care 411. We have added new episodes to this series where our management team walks through the actual initiatives, promotions, and processes that our clinic used throughout the month. We dive into the specifics and discuss outcomes, all for your benefit. Check out the newest episode at mintaesthetics.com. Right, and it turns out we've made a lot of friends doing that.
We
along the
have.
way.
It's been great. And, and the charity part is a big thing too. I was in Lowe's. I remember I told you the story a couple of years ago. And a woman walked up to me and she said, "You're Matt Taranto, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "You own aesthetic care?" I said, "Yes." And she goes, "I just want to tell you, my husband and I come there and we love it. But the reason we come there is we are very involved in philanthropy in Kansas City. And it seems like every charity thing we're involved with, you're involved with. And you are donating things. And you and your wife, we were the chairs of a fundraiser for a home for abused women. And we're involved in a lot of live and private auctions." She goes, "You're everywhere. And that's why we started coming, because we know that you are a business that cares about the community." So I thought that was very nice too.
That's so nice. It's like when you do the right thing,
That's right.
the good karma
Comes back
comes
to
your
you.
way.
Yep.
That's right. All right. Well, I think, really today the main focus was just like, what can we do in marketing that's easy? It doesn't cost us a lot. It may cost some time,
Time.
but
Yep.
it's not, these big dollar amounts.
Mhm.
And so, this is one of many podcasts you and I are going to be doing together over the next few months,
Lucky
years,
you.
decades. You never know.
And I tell people in my consulting, when I'm working with clinics, I said, next time you're in a restaurant, look around the restaurant and ask yourself, how many of these people know my business exists? Because I always think about that. And I'm always like, I bet you almost none of them. And that kind of drives me that we have so much room to grow. There's all these people out there. And again, even though we've been very successful and growing like crazy, I think we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Mm. All right. So thanks for listening in. Thanks for being here, Matt, and
Sure. I
sharing
love
all
being a
that.
guest on my wife's show. It's just amazing.
It's really our
I don't
show,
get
you
paid. I
know?
don't get paid very much for this though.
Oh, you're funny.
Yeah.
All right. All right, you guys. So again, thanks for listening in. Hope you found some helpful hints for your marketing takeaway today, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. We would love it if you left a review to help other providers and clinics find us. Also, if you want more information about anything we discussed in this episode, check out our show notes. Until next time, this has been the Making a Multi-Million Dollar Med Spa podcast.